Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Ete with another episode of The Company Next Door. Today, I'm sitting with my good friend Tracy here. We're at the home studio in Heber, Utah. Tracy, how you doing?
Great. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Tracy looks a little tired, a little red. I think he was up on the slopes this morning.
Skiing Deer Valley this morning.
Skiing Deer Valley, and it was actually a blue sky day.
It was.
How many ski days do you get in throughout the season?
This is about 19 for me. I try to get about 30 in.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's pretty good. Trying to get ready for a heli-skiing trip in April.
Maybe we should be talking more about your extreme adventures as opposed to the business things.
Nah, just try to get a couple things in a year.
Yeah, good. Well, we were just talking. We both love to travel, and last year was a busy year. I thought I was busy. I think I went out of the country 3 times. I think you went out of the country how many times?
We did 16 different countries last year, so we were 4 major trips.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So anyway, we have a lot of common interests there, a lot of fun. So Tracy here has been involved with a lot of different things over the years. Where originally did you tell us a little bit about your background? Where you originally came from?
I actually grew up in northeastern Utah, a place called Flaming Gorge. It's a big lake up there in Wyoming and Utah. My family owned a fishing lodge up there for years, and my brother still owns that same fishing lodge. Grew up there till I was about 15. It was such a small place, though. The school was so small, I decided to move out to the Utah Valley and go to school. Lived out with my sister and brother-in-law for high school.
Okay.
Went to Spanish Fork High School and then college in Utah Valley.
Okay. So a lot of your upbringing was in this Utah area.
It was.
Okay. And then so growing up by the Flaming Gorge, sounds like I've been there. It's, for those of you who haven't, it's an incredible place. Trees, lakes, I mean, everything an outdoorsman or woman would love.
Absolutely.
Is that what you guys kind of did as a family? Was that like such a huge part of your life, the fishing and?
Yeah, anything to do with fishing, people know Flaming Gorge. Flaming Gorge holds the world record brown trout, broke that record twice, holds all the other Utah records for trout, even some bass, smallmouth bass, brown trout, Mackinac or lake trout. All those records have been broken in Utah lakes or in Flaming Gorge.
Wow.
So it holds all the Utah records. But yeah, anything outdoors is. If you like the outdoors, that's a great place to go. They run the river up there. The Green River flows out of the Flaming Gorge under the behind the dam there. So the Green River has become one of the best blue ribbon fisheries in the lower 48.
So that explains a lot, because I know you travel and you hike and you like a lot. So now I see where it comes from. So growing up in that area, you were there until high school age when you moved. What was your father doing? What were your parents doing to survive?
So my father moved up. We lived in Vernal, which is about an hour from Flaming Gorge. When I was really young, he moved up to Flaming Gorge in 1959, before the dam was even started construction. So this was 1958, 59. And he left his wife, my mother, and 7 kids back in Vernal while he opened up a gas station and little store and things up at Flaming Gorge, and then moved the whole family up there when I was about 1.5 years old, 2 years old.
So was the whole family working? Was it a family business? Were you all out in the
Absolutely.
gas station, or were your Saturdays? Were you able to fish, or were you pumping gas?
Family business. We worked nonstop. We worked up there. In the summertime was the busy time of the season, and so we rented rafts. We fixed vehicles and cars, pumped gas, had a little store with all kinds of amenities and stuff in it, fishing supplies and things like that. We even ended up having a guided fishing company as well. So we take people down the river and things and guide those. So it's mostly work, but yeah, we had some fun too when we were up there. In the wintertime, we had to scramble to do almost anything we could to survive. Everything from, I remember we would even picked up the local trash at the different residences. There's only about 300 homes, I think, in Dutch John at that time, and we had that to contract to collect all the garbage for the community, and we cleaned the school and some buildings and things like that in the wintertime just to
So,
just to stay
so
alive.
you're saying we in my mind. So I may be drawing a funny picture, but I'm picturing, your dad, your mom, you and your siblings out picking up trash, running tour guides. I mean, who all was involved? Was it everybody or?
It was virtually everybody. I mean,
Wow.
my oldest brother still is up there and owns the lodge, and his runs the lodge with his sons and daughters right now. But initially, it was all of us. All of us worked up there, and my second sister actually moved away and lived in Spanish Fork, and that's how I ended up in Spanish Fork. But they would even come back in the summer times and help us with the business for 3 or 4 months in the summer. So.
Wow.
Been a family business for a long, long time.
So this is intriguing to me. Was your dad, I mean, it sounds like he was just an entrepreneur at heart. I mean, what you've mentioned, gas station, fishing adventures, trash. I mean, all these things. Was he a businessman or was he self-taught or how did he get to a point where he's like, hey guys, as a family, we're going to go do this and pay the bills? Was it survival?
He's more of an outdoors guy. He just loves to fish and to hunt and things like that. And so he loved the mountain. I mean, growing up in Vernal and the Uinta Basin area, he spent as much time as he could up there on the mountain when he was younger, and I think he always wanted to get back up there if possible. And then, of course, when they built the dam in the late 50s, that was a great opportunity for him, and there was a service station that was for sale, so he bought it and moved up there. And later on, about 1972, we bought the lodge up there and expanded that, which is about 40 acres, and it has RV park and again raft rentals and restaurants. So we ended up running a couple of restaurants and a couple of places that rented rafts. We also, just did even in the wintertime we did some cross country skiing rentals and a few snowmobile rentals and things like that.
Wow. So you guys were busy. It sounds like a fun way to grow up in some ways. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Working together, the family outdoors. So, okay, cool. So that helps us paint the picture. So then you ended up moving closer to town for later high school into college. And where did you go to school at for college?
Went to what's now UVU for a little while, then BYU, where I met my wife.
Okay.
And her family is from Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
Her father, in 1986, opened up a natural food store. And so I kind of researched that, and he offered me a job down there. And so we actually moved to Tucson in 1988.
And was it the store, was it a single store? Was it a chain? What did he have?
This is a natural food store, and at the time it was the largest natural food store in the country.
Okay.
Meaning the square footage of the store was just
Gotcha.
a big store like you'll see in Whole Foods and in those stores now. So
because this is back in the 80s, you said?
yeah, back in the 80s,
where
this was all new.
It's not like 2020 where natural foods is a thing and where everybody knows about it now.
Exactly.
So back then, wow. So that is a big deal. Okay.
So we kind of again moved down there in '88 and stayed with that company, and we opened up eventually 7 stores in Phoenix and Tucson, and ran that natural food business for about 12 years.
Okay, and then was the company sold, or did it?
And then Wild Oats, a competitor out of Colorado, came and said, "We're coming to Arizona, so either sell us your company, or else we're going to build stores in Arizona." So they gave us a price, so we decided to go ahead and sell.
So did you sell out of fear, or was it there other things like you were just going, "Hey, we've had a good run, we've built up a good, these many stores"?
I think I think we felt like it was a good run, and it's one of those things where we said, just make us an offer.
Yeah.
And the offer was what we felt was a pretty good offer, so we decided to take it. And at that time, from '86 until 1999, we had a really good run and did quite well and enjoyed that business a lot. A lot of organic foods and organic meats, and back then it was, like you said, almost brand new.
Yeah.
It was really just some smaller companies, and then Wild Oats out of out of Colorado, and then Whole Foods came out of Texas.
Right.
We just decided it was a good time to sell.
So you're in Tucson. Now we're looking around 99. You and your wife are in Tucson. Did you have kids at this point, roughly? Or?
Yeah, 4 kids.
So you have 4 kids. So the company's out. You've got to do something else to provide. Tell what happens next.
So actually, we the group stayed together, 5 of us, and we decided to stay together and focus on the gas company and some convenience stores. So we'd already had a couple convenience stores. My father-in-law had a few. We were running for him. and then we decided to stay together and build that business.
Okay.
A couple years after that, Texaco was making some changes. They didn't want to be in Arizona anymore, and really in that market. So we purchased 13 of their stores.
Were they all in Arizona?
All in Arizona.
Okay.
All in southern Arizona. So as time went on, we just focused on that company, and ultimately we ran some more Texacos in Phoenix for Texaco for 2 or 3 years. And that time, the most we ever managed or operated was 52 stores.
Wow.
And so some of those were ours, and some of those were other people's we ran for.
Gotcha. So what was your role in this? I mean, I know it sounds like there was 5 of you, a group. What's your background a little bit on that? What do you bring
Operations, to the table? Basically just operations. I was doing, I'd managed some of the natural food stores as a manager. Well,
Okay.
everything from, started out as a clerk or a night manager and worked my way up to a manager. So I finished my degree in Arizona.
Okay.
University of Arizona in business, and the degree was in personnel management. I utilized that, and then mostly just worked on operations.
So you finished your degree in Arizona. This was because you were already involved in business at that point.
Yeah.
So why did you decide you needed a degree?
I just wanted to have it.
Okay.
So I just think it's important, especially back then. I think education is important for anyone. But I just want to make sure I had it. I was almost finished anyway. I just had about a year left.
So would you recommend that to a newer or younger, startup or entrepreneur? Maybe he's starting to grow a business. Would you say, hey, you might want to look at going to school? Or
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because if you'd asked me that 10 years ago, I'd say, you have to get a degree. You have to get a bachelor's degree, and if you can, go on to get your MBA or whatever you can. It depends what kind of business you're going in today. I know a lot of kids come out of school now with a lot of debt, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
So I think in the last few years especially, there's a big need for some trade school education. So it all depends what you really want to go into. So I wouldn't say I'm as high on your standard education as I would have been, maybe 10 years ago.
Interesting. Yeah.
But regardless if it's a bachelor's degree or a trade school, either one.
Education in some
Education's
way.
important.
So okay, so you're now you're doing the gas stations, convenience stores. I think you said up to 54,
52, yeah.
52. So what happens next? So you're still in Tucson,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got 4 kids.
4 kids.
Did you guys continue to? Do you still have those? Did you sell those? Or did you get...
So we did that until about 2015. In 2015, a couple different companies came to us and wanted to buy our stores, and we ended up selling those stores out in January of 2015.
Okay. So that was that the stores that you owned?
The ones that we owned.
Okay,
right?
out of the 52.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so you sold those to?
We sold those to a company called Western Refining.
Okay.
And out of Texas. They had a couple of refineries, one in Texas and one in Minnesota, I believe. And so they purchased our stores. They wanted more hoses. They wanted more gas facilities and pumps so they could do more volume for themselves. They make a lot of money on the wholesale side or the refining side.
Right.
And it was nice for them because they had a refinery and also the retail side. But,
Gotcha.
Anyway, that's who we sold out to.
So 2015, when they approached you, were you burnt out, tired, getting over it, wanting to leave, move to Utah? Or was it just like the last case where it's like, you know what, they came, they offered a good deal, you said, hey, this will work, let's just do it. What was the mindset going into this sale?
This wasn't nearly as enjoyable as the natural food business. Natural food business, we really felt like we were on the front edge
because
of
you
that
were,
whole industry. And so that was a lot of fun. Running the natural food stores. The convenience stores, that's a little more tough. In fact, I was telling somebody the other day about this, but I think it was 2009 or 10, we had 300% turnover in our company in 1 year. And it's a constant battle trying to hire and train.
Yeah.
And especially when you're dealing with employees that are the lower level,
Sure. Yeah, getting paid a
less
lot. Yeah.
education, that kind of thing. So it was really a challenge. So we thought it was a good time to get out. My partners were a little bit older than I am, and so they think they're a little more motivated than I was to get out. I would have stayed in a couple more years, but
You would've.
the retail part of the convenience store was much more challenging than the
And
natural foods.
I can see that. I mean, you take a store like a Whole Foods, or we have Natural Grocers in town. It's a great little store, and I love those stores. And generally, it's a place where people want to work. They can get paid more. There's just a good energy about it. And like you're saying, versus more of a convenience, I could see just dealing with different personalities that get exhausting.
Correct. Yeah, it's a different customer too. And we felt like in the natural food business, we were helping people. We felt like, with all the organics
Yeah,
and the
making a
vitamins
difference.
and all that kind of stuff, we were making more of a difference. And convenience stores was more of a job,
Sure.
I think, so a little bit tougher. But it was probably not a bad time to get out. Competition was getting pretty serious, especially in Phoenix and Tucson, the big metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
And so it was a good decision.
So were you with the competition like the little Circle K marts I've seen in Tucson? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was your convenience store as gas and the little shop?
Both, yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I understand. Cool. So there you go, 2015. So now you guys you get out of that, and are you just sitting in Tucson? How do you make the jump to Heber?
Well, as a kid, when I was driving from Utah Valley out to Flaming Gorge or to Vernal to see my family,
You have to go through Heber.
you have to go through Heber.
Gotcha.
So Heber's always been just a beautiful valley, and I was always astonished that people hadn't figured it out yet. They are finally starting to do that. You can see by the growth and things in this community. But we had actually purchased a property in 2014, kind of knowing that there may be some potential of selling the company in Tucson.
Okay.
So we bought that property in 2014 and then moved up here July of 2015 and decided, it'd be nice to just make a big change. And we've been down there for a lot of years. We still hope to visit my wife's family in Tucson in the wintertime for maybe 2 or 3 months in the winter. But we like to come up here and be in this valley as much as we can.
Yeah, they definitely have the winters figured out in Tucson. I mean,
Beautiful,
it's a great place to winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you guys made the move here, you sold your company and you pulled out with all your partners. Are you guys still together today, or was that the end of that relationship?
We're not together today as far as business is concerned, except for one company that we still own and operate in Phoenix.
Okay.
We own a wholesale gas company.
Oh.
We're the largest shale gas distributor in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So mostly shale gas, but we also can deliver to Chevron and Sinclair. So we have a few accounts in California, but most of them are in Arizona.
Gotcha. Okay. So you still have some things down there. And then when you came to Heber, you bought the house in, I think you said 14, so before thinking this is probably going to happen, we're going to sell and move on. So when you came, did you have a game plan for business, for creating revenue here, or were you like just coming to retire, or?
Just going to retire, I guess, but I'm kind of young for that. So we decided that I needed to do something to stay busy. And so I was introduced to a guy out of Vernal, where my brothers live. Introduced me to a gentleman that owns and operates a hotel, a Best Western Plus in Roosevelt. And I've always thought that, Heber really needs another hotel.
Yes.
Him and I and a couple other partners got together and built the hotel in Heber about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, and it's, for those of you who live here, it's a beautiful place. The lobby, everything's great. It's clean. It's a good place.
It's a nice addition to the city, I think. When I was younger, I had a little bit of experience with the hotel business at Flaming Gorge, but this is a bigger venture. But it's been good. It's been pretty good.
Let me ask you a few questions about the hotel itself. How many rooms do you have in the
82 rooms.
82 rooms, and how hard is it to keep them occupied, to keep them full? Do you up and down depending on the season, or is
that's the challenge? Is everybody wants to be 100% full all the time. Our occupancy goes up and down like anything else in this valley. There's some shoulder months, they call them, that are really down months. April and November, those are pretty nasty.
Yeah.
But wintertime's pretty good. Summertime's the best for us, and we hope it just gets better and better with the recognition that people have now that we're in town.
Yeah. So what's your day-to-day involvement with the Best Western? Are you
Not much, really. Honestly, I go down there a couple times a week and just, pretend like I'm doing something to walk around and just check on things, see if customer
Yeah.
service is where it should be.
Yeah.
Other than that, honestly, it's my business partner that
Handles that side of it.
handles all the other operations.
Awesome. So were you more on a financial side on this venture, or?
Mostly, I was pretty involved in the construction. I was involved in the weekly meetings and that kind of thing. But yeah, mostly just financial. But I did have a lot of input on the construction of the building.
Okay. Do you guys plan on? Are you planning on getting into more? I mean, maybe you don't know yet, but have you? Is
Maybe.
it something do you love? I mean, I was listening to a podcast called "How I Built This." I forget which chain it was, but they built this incredible hotel chain, and they loved it. They thought it was, if you get the right location, the money's great. I mean, it's a
location.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, if it's occupied, if it's full, I mean, if you can be at 70 or 80% occupancy at any hotel, you should be, doing pretty well. So never say never. I mean, if something else came available, that'd be a possibility.
Yeah.
I think it's coming from the business I was in at retail, this is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Because you really, you got 20 to 25 employees, and it's a nice place to work, and you're, I think taking care of customers, and the facility's brand new and everything. So I think that really is an easier business to run, but again, you have to have the right revenue, and expenses have been higher than we anticipated for this this project. But
real estate costs or just other costs? Because I know, real estate right now in Heber is just
real estate. That's where it
skyrocket.
started, was real estate. But the city of Heber wasn't really helpful.
Okay.
We thought we'd come in here and they would offer us, different kinds of concessions, and there was virtually no concessions to come in and build a hotel. 2 other hotel chains in the last 10 years have not built here because the city was so hard to work with.
Wow.
But I think going forward it's going to be fine. I think the hotel will be busier and busier as the valley continues to grow, and
Yeah.
it'll do well.
And I know it's supposed to double here in the next little bit, so
Yeah,
everything just seems to be so busy and crazy around here.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. You've been doing business in different forms. It's looked differently, throughout the years. But you got experience. You got a lot of experience. What are some of the lessons that you've learned that you would say if your son said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going into business," and you wanted to sit him down and tell him your key lessons, maybe 1, 2, or 3, what are some of those top things that you just think, I wish I could have told myself this?
You have to be prepared to work harder than you've ever thought you would need to work. I was talking to a local restaurant owner a couple nights ago. They work 7 days a week,
Wow.
12 hours a day. And they take,
The owner?
The owner. The owner and his wife. And they take off 2 weeks a year, which the restaurant's closed. But other than that, they have to be there for quality control, for making sure customers are taken care of. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. Most people aren't willing to do that. A lot of people think, well, you own a business, you must be loaded.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
I know it.
That's not the way it works. So I think you have to be able to understand the work that you've done in the past. A 9-to-5 kind of job doesn't exist if you're a business owner.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weekends, it's holidays, it's whatever is necessary to make
Yeah.
it work. In fact, most businesses, I think, if you don't have the funds to lose money for the first 2 years, you shouldn't go into business.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because you won't make money day one.
No.
Unless you're, an exceptional case. But people think, well, I'll start making some money in, a few weeks or a few months. That's rarely the case.
Right.
So you have to be financially stable enough to say, you know what, I'm okay with losing money for, in my opinion, almost up to 2 years.
Yeah.
If you can get to that point and build your business, then you might survive. But there's very few that start making money right off the bat.
So you would recommend then, if someone were looking or listening to this and say, man, I think, that's one of the things there's this misconception of, you don't work for the man. And I try to tell people, you don't understand that would be easy. Like you said, a 9-to-5, one boss, when you're your own company.
Forget about work when you go home.
Yeah. You're just over it. So, but it sounds like you would also recommend, hey, get some cash, get some money together so you can lose for 2 years, because don't plan on making any money.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And of course, most people can't do that.
Right.
I mean, there's very few people that can have that kind of funding available that they can actually lose money. But I've found that over and over again where, I've read many times that 60% of all businesses fail in the first 18 months or 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. You've got a plan going into it.
Yeah.
What else? What are some other lessons? I think that's a great point.
Well, when I was younger, I'm the sixth of 7 children, and I have 3 older brothers, and I just remember them working again all day long. I mean, they were working 90 to 100-hour weeks sometimes when the busy season was happening, because you have to make it when you can.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to just set aside your personal wants. You have to say, you know what, I'm okay with not having a vacation this year, or I'm okay with not buying anything that I don't have to have for a certain amount of time so I can make this thing work. So I think you just have to understand going in there's going to be some real challenges,
some sacrifices,
and if you can get through those, then you can be successful. But it just takes some time too.
Yeah.
I think it is great to be able to work for yourself, and you don't have somebody else you have to answer to all the time, but you do have to answer to the employees and the people that are working for you too. So that drives you, makes you want to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, and then all the clients, and so it's just, it's not exactly what I think some people have the vision, but it can be an incredible thing.
It can, and it just takes some time. I mean, I tell my kids that if you want to be in the situation that I'm in now, that didn't just happen. It took 30 years to get here, and but it is nice to be able to, afford the things that you want or help people out. At this, this stage of life, but it doesn't happen overnight, and I think that's a big misconception or problem with many of the young people today is they want it right now.
Everything's instant.
So that instant gratification just doesn't exist in business.
I agree. And one trend I've seen, I've interviewed quite a few business guys that are entrepreneurs that have been in business for over 20 years. And sometimes it seems that there's just a sweet spot there, like when especially if you've been with one company, when you hit that 20-year mark, you don't have to market, you don't have to network, but back to your point, it takes time. It is not instant. So if you need instant gratification, unless you got a lot of money to start with, I don't know.
It takes a while for sure.
Yeah.
And then choose something that you really love to do. I don't know that it's interesting because, I was raised working in my own family's business.
Yeah.
And I ended up working in a different business, almost doing the same thing. Still serving customers, still in a lot of retail and that kind of thing. But I think as long as you work hard at it, I think you can achieve whatever you want. But it is important to try to choose something that you really enjoy. And generally, if you pick something you enjoy, you're better at it and you'll work harder at it.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't. If you have to put in a 15-hour day, which you usually do, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
because you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Good point. Let me ask you this. What was one of the hardest moments you've had in business, or just where you thought, wow, I don't know if I'm going to make it through today? Because that happens, and I've never talked to anyone doing business that it's never happened to. Can you remember a specific event or a period of your life where you thought, this is really hard?
I think initially starting the business down in Tucson, we had one store, and we wouldn't build a second store until we knew that we could afford it. In fact, my father-in-law, who was in the grocery business with his father years and years ago, taught me this lesson that he wouldn't build another store until he could pay for it with cash, which today is unheard of.
Yeah, that's not.
In fact, we had to go to him and convince him as a partner that we need to go to the bank and borrow some money, and that was a hard discussion to have because he was just used to, honestly, not owing anybody anything.
Wow.
And that's a great way to be able to live your life and have your business if you can do that. But that's almost unheard of nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think that would be the time that probably was the most stressful, though, because taking out a $13 million loan, now you're being held to the standard. You have to make these payments. So I think those first few months after going to the bank and borrowing some money to purchase those initial stores is probably one of the tougher times.
Some sleepless nights in there, I can imagine. With your wife, Susan, how has she been with all this? Has it been one thing I've noticed too? Sometimes it's hard on the spouse, especially if they're not involved. I don't know if Susan is. You can tell me, but How's it been for her all these years? Sometimes because they don't, my wife said to me sometimes, I wish it'd be nice if I just knew exactly what was coming in each month. I said, well, okay,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, sometimes there's sometimes where your spouse has to just have faith in you. How's it been for her? Do you know?
She's been a real trooper. I think we've been very blessed and fortunate to be able to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And have a relatively steady income. But yeah, there were times in the past that it was a little bit of a struggle. But I think her growing up in a family that was about owning their own business,
Yeah.
she understood.
She understood.
So she didn't come into something that she wasn't familiar with. So she knew that we made, as a group, good decisions. We worked hard. We did our due diligence. Yeah. And as long as you're doing that and working hard, I think she felt pretty good about the decisions we were making.
And is she part of like your discussion? So I know sometimes the husband and wife may talk about everything. I've seen some situations where they don't talk at all on the business side, just because you don't want to bore them with the details.
Right.
How have you guys navigated through that?
I don't think she has a lot of interest. I mean, she wants to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But she doesn't feel like, I need to approve this or that.
Yeah.
So she's been real accommodating and just going with the flow. And again, I think knowing that her father was successful in business and kind of knowing that what to expect, I think she's been a good partner to have. But she was fortunate enough to stay home with the kids. I was able to make enough money that she didn't have to work. After we started having children, she wasn't required to work, so she stayed home and raised the kids, which I think is very important, and we're very fortunate.
Yeah, and so maybe she's like, hey, I'm home, my bills are paid, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So she's grateful for it. Awesome. So in kind of winding down, is there any other projects that you're working on right now that I can ask about, or is it mostly just, I know you said you got the investment, you got the company down in Arizona with the gas.
Yeah.
You got some in that with the hotels. Anything else that's...
Not a lot. We're just we're happy to be up here. It is a little bit odd not to get up in the morning and go to work every day. So trying to figure out the retirement thing still. As far as projects, there's always the possibilities of doing some spec homes or looked at some other properties. Maybe looking at things in Francis or other small communities around here for some kind of strip mall or something like that. The storage units has always been on the back of my mind, but I know they've done a lot of storage units in the valley, and I think they're probably built out right now.
Okay.
But that's always been something that was really necessary and needed, I think. When I first moved here in 15, you couldn't even find a place to store anything.
You could not. I was in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be cool. So kind of a fun question. You mentioned you love to fish. What are some other things that you love to do that just, you skied Deer Valley?
Yeah, I ski. I didn't start skiing until a couple of years ago because I've been a snowboarder for years because my kids wanted to snowboard when they were younger and learn to snowboard. So I figured I'd be the cool dad and start snowboarding, which in hindsight was probably not the best thing. I should have probably stayed on skis to teach them to snowboard. But about a year and a half ago, I signed up for a heli-skiing trip in Canada in April, so I decided I better start skiing and figuring this out. So I've been doing that quite a bit.
And that's coming up this April?
Coming up April, yeah. I love to fly fish. One of the greatest fishing trips, or even any trip I've ever been on, I went to fly fishing in Siberia.
Wow.
About a decade ago, and that was a great trip. Siberia was what Alaska would have been about 100 years ago.
Oh,
we fished for 9 days straight, on a river and caught, trout and silver salmon and things like that. That was a lot of fun. So I enjoy fly fishing. We go to Lake Powell. We love boating, and the boys especially love to surf and wakeboard and things like that. So we enjoy that.
That's awesome. So everything outdoor, which stems from your childhood.
Yeah.
So if you had the last question is, if you, looking back, was there anything you would have changed? Is there anything significantly that you would have done differently? Timing or business decisions, anything in that world?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
A lot of things, I feel very fortunate, very blessed to be in the situation that I was in. Financially, I think we made some great decisions. We were on the forefront of some industries and things that very few people had that opportunity to be in. So I don't think I have a lot of doubts. Again, back to education and things like that, I probably got my MBA.
Okay.
And I thought about that a couple different times, but I was already working, had 4 kids. It's a real challenge to go back and do that. So I wish I'd have probably gone back and got my master's degree. But other than that, I think everything's worked out pretty well.
Wow. Can't beat that. So, in summary, yeah, I mean, I love what you said earlier about just if you guys want to get in the business, it can be a great thing. You can take care of your needs, you can travel the world, you can enjoy life, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. Tracy it wasn't a 2 or 3 year deal. He's been doing this for a while, and he's put the time and the effort, and it pays off. But it's not there's no instant gratification. Well, there could be there's some tech products, I guess, that come out sometimes out of, but for the most part, it's just hard work and making good decisions, and it pays off.
It does, yeah.
So awesome. So anyway, Tracy, thank you for stopping by.
You're welcome.
And if anyone, if you guys come to visit us here in Heber and you need a place to stay, recommend the Best Western right down the street. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Everything